see. Yep, we're alive. Hopefully alive too. There we go. There we go. Okay. Get the guitar and we'll chant something. Let's check the songbook first. Okay, let's see. What are my favorites? Ohe Vaishnava Thakur. Ohe Vaishnava Thakur, Sarasagar, Edase, Karunakori, Vaishnava Thakur, Sarasagar, Edase, Jaya, Jaya Maya, Tomara Jurana Nuri, Diapada Jaya, Jaya Maya, Tomara Jurana Nuri. Jaya Tomi, Jaya Dosha Jodi, Jaya Guna Deo Nase, Jaya Veda Tomi, Jaya Dosha Jodi, Guna Deo Nase. Satsanga Deo Amare Oshachi Sandero say Jaya Satsanga Deo Amare Oshachi Sandero Mara, Vaibolo, Harinama Sankirtane, Ekakiya Mara, Vaibolo, Harinama Sankirtane. Yubi Kripakori, Shatapindu Diya, Deya Krishna, Amadane. Yubi Kripakori, Shatapindu Diya, Deya Krishna, Namadane. Krishna say Tomara, Snehiti Paro, Malashikari Krishna say Tomara. Amito Gangala, Krishna Krishna Boli, Naitava Pache Pache. Amito Gangala, Krishna Krishna Boli, Naitava Pache Pache. Vaishnava Saga Eda Se Karuna Tori Vaishnava Takura Doya Saga Eda Se Karuna Tori Pada Jaya Shodaya Maya Tomara Sharana Prabhupada Prabhupada Jila Prabhupada Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya Also Teda Satishi Shibad His Divine Grace Abhaya Chalananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuradam Ki Jai Jagannatha Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimat Tulasi Devi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Samaniti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharni Nirvashesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Dejatarni. We're going to continue with, let me read the translation first. O Venerable Vaishnava, ocean of mercy, be merciful unto your servant. Give me the shade of your lotus feet and purify me. I hold on to your lotus feet. Teach me to control my 6 passions, rectify my 6 faults, bestow upon me the 6 qualities, and offer unto me the 6 kinds of holy association. I do not find the strength to carry on alone the Sankirtan of the holy name of Hari. Please bless me by giving me just 1 drop of faith with which to obtain the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours, you have the power to give him to me. I'm simply running behind you shouting, Krishna, Krishna. Whoops, what happened here? Oh, we're still online, that's good. Krishna, Krishna. So, with that in mind, we're going to continue with our study of Jaiva Dharma by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we are talking about the position of the Jiva soul, because that's what Jaiva Dharma basically means. Jaiva, Jiva, Dharma. Now what does Dharma mean? Dharma means the inherent quality of something that never changes, like the Dharma Prabhupada said. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur also said, Dharma of water is liquidity, except if it's in an unnatural state. So our dharma is to be Satchitananda, eternity, bliss, knowledge, serving Krishna. But when we're in an unnatural state, we're here in this material world. So with that in mind, all you nice material world vasis, you residents of the material world, we are broadcasting from Krishna Loka, direct from Krishna Loka. And somehow or other the message is getting through to you. So anyway, let's continue and share the screen. So Maganatimirandasha Gananjana Shlakya Chakshur Unmeritam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Okay, and here's the screen. Jaiva Dharma Ki Jai. Okay, we're on chapter 15. We're sort of in the middle of chapter 15. So I think I'm going to have to describe some of the terms again, because some of you may have forgotten. We haven't had class for a little while. So, talking about the jiva. When the para shakti or chit shakti, shakti means energy, para means transcendental, chit also means spiritual, becomes external as the jiva shakti, that's us, the jiva souls, it manifests all the eternal jivas like rays of the sun between the spiritual and material spheres. Wow, what an example. So we're actually spiritual, but the rays, just like the rays of the sun, they come from the sun, and that's metaphorically like the spiritual world, and they come to the material world, come to the earth. Brajanath said, not that the earth is necessarily a material world, the sun is a spiritual world, but it's a metaphor. Brajanath, and here Brajanath is going to object to using this metaphor. He says, blazing fire is a material object. The sun is a material object. Sparks are also material. Why are these comparisons used in spiritual matters? That's a very important point. Comparisons or metaphors do not prove spiritual points. They don't. Comparisons, metaphors help us grasp, understand those particular spiritual points, but they don't prove a particular spiritual point. You understand? So why do we have to use material comparisons? Because that's all we know, Prabhu. You know, how could we use spiritual comparisons? But we don't know spiritual comparisons, and our senses are covered. Takshi Krishna Namadi Nabhavit Grayam Indriyai. So Babaji said, previously I said that when speaking on spiritual topics, didn't you learn the lesson? Using material words, there will be material contamination. With no alternative, these examples are used. In other words, what else are you going to use except for material words when we're talking to people? Am I going to just be gobbledygook? Am I going to just make signs with my hands? What am I going to do? And that's material anyway. Gobbledygook is also material. What am I going to do? How can I explain something to you unless I use material language? Because there is no other way, we must explain spiritual objects using words like fire and sun. Actually, Krishna is much superior to the sun. Krishna's spiritual sphere is far superior to the sun's fiery globe. Krishna's rays are superior to the sun's rays. Though that is so, considering some similarity, examples are used. You know, there's some similar points. That's all. The examples clarify only a portion of the spiritual qualities, clarify in our minds. They do not clarify all the qualities. The sun and its rays have self-manifesting beauty and reveal other objects. These two qualities point out the self-manifesting nature and power to reveal other objects which are possessed by spiritual objects. The sun's power of burning, its material nature, are not compared to qualities of spiritual objects. In other words, certain qualities that the sun has, the spiritual objects don't have. Like if you come in touch with a spiritual object, you're not going to get cremated. But if you come in touch with the sun, well, guess what, buddy? You'll be cremated immediately. Instantaneously. If one says that milk is like water, this means that the milk is liquid like water, not that the milk has all the water's qualities. It's just to help you understand. How could that be milk then? Thus, an example explain a portion of the qualities. They do not explain an object's existence perfectly. Just some portion of the qualities. Just like there's one poem where some guy in love says, "My love is like a rose." What does he mean by that? I'm a sannyasi. I don't know what he means by that. But obviously, a rose is very beautiful. And the girl that he fell in love with, because he's an illusion, he thinks she's beautiful. That's all. She may be as ugly as a dog, but he thinks she's beautiful. So he compares her to a rose. Of course, he may compare her to a wilted rose. And that's not such a nice comparison. Prajanand said the spiritual rays and particles within the rays are not different from the spiritual sun, but are eternally different as well. How is this possible? So there's this Achincha Beta Veda top row philosophy again. The spiritual rays and particles within the rays are non-different from the spiritual sun, who is Krishna. So one and different from Krishna, but are eternally different as well. How is this possible? Babaji said, when an object in the material world produces another object, it may be different from the original object, or it may remain the same together with the first object. That's true. Sometimes the same, sometimes different. This is a material quality. When a bird produces an egg, it is separate from the bird. The egg does not exist with the bird. Right? As long as a man's nails and hair are not cut, they remain as one with the man. It's a good example. The quality of spiritual objects is different, however. Whatever emanates from Krishna is simultaneously different and non-different from him. The rays and the particles emanate from the spiritual sun, but are one with it. One in quality, but not in quantity. Yeah, just like, as long as I have the hair in my head, which is not much left, that each hair and its follicle is one with me, but it's different. It's obvious. Or not with me, with the body. Similarly, the rays, Jiva, Shakti, us, and the particles in the rays, the individual Jivas, that's each individual us, emanate from Krishna and are not non-different from him. Though non-different from him, the Jiva is eternally different, since every Jiva particle has this independent desire. So how are we different? We have our independent desire, Icha, which means desire. That the Jiva is non-different from Krishna and different from Krishna is an eternal condition. This is the different feature concerning spiritual objects. So we can be one with and different simultaneously. So here's a material example being given, one which Prabhupada uses quite often. The learned men give a partial example from the material world. There's a large lump of gold. So what is the example Prabhupada uses? He says a gold mine. That's how Prabhupada gives this particular example. But you can see Prabhupada's examples are coming down into succession. So there's a large lump of gold, which Prabhupada calls a gold mine. From the lump, one takes a piece of gold and makes a bracelet. The bracelet is not different from the lump of gold, since it's a portion of the gold. But the bracelet, being a portion, is different from the whole lump of gold. That's quality and quantity again. This example does not function perfectly, but partially. In other words, by hearing about gold and the bracelet is made from gold, we could begin to understand how we are part and parcel of Krishna. Of course, there's a vast difference between that example and the reality. I mean, one difference is that a bracelet was made from the lump of gold at a particular time, whereas the jiva was not made from Krishna, or Krishna did not make us at a particular time, because we are coexistent with Krishna. So there are different points. The jivas are not different from the Lord's Son, being spiritual nature. They're different since the Lord is complete Chit and the jiva is a particle of Chit. Spirituality. It's interesting. So actuality, the marginal potency, the Lord Tatashta, is actually Chit. And that's described in the Vishnu Purana too. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta. That the Chit Shakti is transcendental. Kshetragyakya Tatha Para. So Kshetragya, the knower of the body, which is us, that's all I know is this body. Yes, all I know is the body and what the body perceives. Until I develop my spiritual vision and hear from Krishna, that's all I know. I just know what I'm perceiving. Like right now I'm looking at a microphone. But am I directly looking at the microphone? No, I'm looking or I'm perceiving what the body or the information the body gives me. So I'm actually looking at the body. Wow, far out. I think I'm looking at the microphone. Those of you who can see me on the camera will understand what I'm talking about. I think I'm looking at the microphone. Maybe you can see the microphone on the camera. Probably not. No, you can. So I think I'm looking at the microphone. But actually, am I looking at the microphone? I'm perceiving the body and the body's elements or senses are interacting with the light that's coming from the microphone, hitting the optic nerve, the lens in the eye, going to the back to the retina, going through the optic nerve, going through this little brain that we have, and then that's what I'm perceiving. Just like, all right, let me give you a practical example. Okay. Practical example. Let's say a television or a computer or television. Okay. Let's say that there is some newsworthy thing going on somewhere. Let's say they're attacking the Congress of the United States. There's a riot. And I'm watching it on the computer or on the television. Okay, good example. Actually, I have to pat myself on the back for this example. I'm watching it on the computer or on the television. But am I actually watching what's going on at the Congress building? No. Even physically, bodily, from a material perspective, you can just say, I am watching certain pixels on the computer screen. So I'm actually watching the computer or looking at the computer. And I'm thinking that I am watching what's going on. So in the same way, this is a good metaphor. In the same way, we are thinking that we are looking at things, hearing things in this world. And of course, just to explain things, we do say we are hearing things and we're looking at things. Obviously, if you don't talk like that, people are going to think you're crazy. But in reality, we are the knowers of this body. That's it. And really, if we knew the body for what it is, then we'd be a real knower. But otherwise, we're just the perceivers. Actually, better to use the word, we're the perceivers of this body rather than the knowers, because actually to know the body should mean to know what the body is, what it's composed of, and who is the ultimate proprietor of the body. That's real knowledge of the body, according to the Bhagavad Gita. So we're just the perceivers of the body, not of this microphone, not of this computer. In the same way, we're not perceiving the riot that's going on in some other place. You're just perceiving, everyone understands the metaphor. Okay. They are different from the Lord, since the Lord is complete Chit, and the Jiva is a particle of Chit. Chit means spiritual. The example of the sky and the pot and the open sky are completely inapplicable to spiritual objects. We have the sky and the pot, and then you break the pot. That's a Mayavadi example. So Brajanath said, spiritual and material objects are different by category. How can material examples be used? Still, he's stuck on this same point. So Babaji answers, there are different categories of material objects. The philosophers of Nyaya, that means logic, say that these categories are eternal. Sounds a little bit like Plato here. Really? Sounds just like Plato. The philosophers say that these categories are eternal. There's a category of there's a circular quality, there's a ball, there's a football. In the world, world of ideas. So spiritual objects and material objects are not of such different categories. In other words, I previously said that the substantial object, the Lord, is spiritual. Matter is its transformation. There are many similarities between the distorted object and the pure object. So, in other words, reflection, distortion, whatever example or whatever description you want to give, that's the material world. It's a reflection of the spiritual world. When you're looking at the reflection in the mirror, you are not seeing the object, although you think you're seeing the object. You are not. You're seeing the reflection, and actually you're just the knower of the body anyway. The distorted object is different from the pure object, but has many similarities. Very good point. The material world is different from the spiritual realm, but there's many, many parallels. But there's many, many differences, too. So you can use material, just like, all right, another example. We use the example of, let's say, the loving, lusty exchanges that are there in this world to help us understand, at least externally, Radha and Krishna, although that's not lust. The quality is different. But it really, when people paint pictures of Radha and Krishna, or paint pictures of a rasa dance, which I'm not sure if they should do that. But anyway, when people paint pictures of the rasa dance, they're going by what they've experienced in this world, or there may be some material explanation. Ice is a transformation of water. Ice is a separate object from water. So that's, like the material world is a transformation of the spiritual world. Has some similar qualities. Here it is. But has a similar quality of coolness, of course. Ice is a lot more cold. So cool water does not have similarity to hot water in terms of temperature, but they are similar to being liquid. So, there's some similar qualities. So you can use examples of things as a metaphor to illustrate the qualities of something else that has some similarities. Of course, the most similarities there are between the two objects or two things you're trying to describe, that's more accurate. But you will never get complete correspondence. unless it's the same thing. Things equal to the same thing or equal to each other. Okay? Just like, all right, let's say, here's an apple, there's an apple. There's many similarities, very, very close. But there's no complete correspondence because each apple is at least subtly different from another apple. But it's very close correspondence. But they're different apples. And they look different, just like two people. They look different. There's so many varieties, under the category of people or persons. There's so many varieties. I mean, sometimes the people look similar, but, when you get down to it, they look different. Thus, there are some similarities of a pure spirituality with a distorted material object. Good point about using metaphors. Though the material world is a distortion of the spiritual world, there are similarities between material and spiritual qualities because the material world comes from the spiritual world and everything ultimately comes from Krishna. Aham sarvasya prabhu matak sarvam pravartate. Taking support of this fact in material examples, one can reflect upon spiritual matters. Taking support of maxims like Arundhati Darshana Nyaya. Let's see what this says. Go down to the bottom. Arundhati is the wife of the sage Vashishta and is revered as the epitome of chastity and wifely devotion, which means ideal wife. Well, you ladies should learn that. Arundhati star is very faintly visible, therefore this star is shown in steps, first showing the brighter stars and then relative that the Arundhati star is directed, inferring unknown from that which is known is referred to as Arundhati Darshana Nyaya. So in other words, you have stars that you know because they're closer and brighter, and you use those, you say, to the left. You may not be able to see the Arundhati star, but one can, at least right now, because it's just very, very faint. So you look at another star, and you say, just to the left of that star, left and a little bit down is the Arundhati star. Okay? That's an interesting Arundhati Darshana Nyaya. One can understand the subtle qualities of material objects while realizing the gross and contrary nature of material objects. Because in other words, material objects, this is really important as far as, proof of, not exactly proof, but understanding something. Material objects we can see. Spiritual objects we don't see, or we need some direction to be able to see them. Do we see Krishna in everyone's heart? No. Do we see the soul in everyone's heart? No. Do we understand too much Krishna conscious philosophy? No. So you use material objects to try to understand these things. An important point about metaphors. Krishna's pastimes are all spiritual. They have no trace of matter. Remember that. The Braja pastimes, that means Vrindavan, described in Bhagavatam are completely spiritual. When the topics described fall into the assembly of humans, there are different results according to different qualifications of listeners. In other words, because someone's mind is contaminated, they will hear Krishna's pastimes with Radharani, and sometimes they'll experience more lust in their own bodies because they're maturely engrossed. Listeners who are very maturely attached will hear the topics of Radha and Krishna while taking support of material objects and literary ornaments. In other words, they'll just equate like Radharani, well, I guess that's like my wife or something like that, some stupid thing like that. In other words, that's Sahajism. The Madhyamadikari sees the spiritual pastimes with similarity to material descriptions, taking support of the maxim Arundhati Darshana Nyaya. So in other words, the Kanishta Adhikari, who was very maturely attached, will see the topics of Radha and Krishna as material. just like, whatever happens in a movie. And the Majjhima will see the material things and use those material things to try to draw some connection, to have some understanding. But he'll understand Radha Krishna's pastimes are spiritual. The Uttama Adhikaris are absorbed in the pure spiritual pastimes beyond matter. What is it? Without taking support of these principles, what is the method of teaching the jivas? So in other words, the Uttama Adhikaris don't need to use metaphors. Because Premanjana Churita Bhaktivilochenena Santakshadaiva Hridiyeshu Vilokyanti Yam Shaima Chandra Achinchaguna Swarupam Govindam Adipursham Tavaham Pashami. Because their eyes are tinged, as Prabhupada says, with the salve of love of God, so they see Krishna everywhere. Santakshadaiva Hridiyeshu, in everyone's heart and everywhere. So there's no need of metaphors for an Uttama Adhikari. But how many Uttama Adhikaris are running around right now? Not too many, Prabhu. In this topic, the power of words, Vak Shakti, Vak means words or speech, Shakti means potency, has no place. The functions of consciousness, Chitta, Vritti, are defeated. How can the bound jivas understand this topic? So in other words, direct explanation is going to be very hard for the bound jivas to understand. So you need this indirect. I see no method except for the good use of good examples and the Rundati Darshana Nyaya. Very good point. One sees either difference between material objects or non-difference. This is not so in the Supreme Tattva. One must accept that the Jiva Shakti and all the Jivas manifest from it are inconceivably simultaneously different and non-different from Krishna. Again, he's explaining Achincha Beta Beta Tattva philosophy. Very nice. So it's good that Brajanath asked these particular questions. Why is it good? To bring out the point of Achincha Beta Beta Tattva philosophy, so you understand more about this philosophy that was taught by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Brajanath said, how are the Jiva and Supreme Lord different? How are we different? Why am I not God? First I'll explain the eternal non-difference of the Jiva and the Lord, and then the eternal difference. So first I'm going to explain how the Lord and the Jiva are the same, not in every respect. Let me just turn this phone off because people love to text me during the class. They just wait to text me. The Lord is Jnana Swarupa. Jnana means knowledge. The Swarupa means the form of knowledge, his own form of knowledge. Because he is the knower, Yata Swarupa. In other words, to put it in common language, he is omniscient. Means he sees everything and knows everything. He is the enjoyer, Bhokta Swarupa, the form of enjoyment. And we are thinking we're the enjoyers. That's the problem. He is the permitter, Manta Swarupa. In other words, everything that goes on, not a blade of grass, moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is self-manifesting, Swa Prakasha. Prakasha means to manifest, Swa means his own. He manifests himself. And reveals other objects, Para Prakasha, that means reveals other things. He is the knower of all bodies and has his own desires. Icha Shakti, which means the Shakti of desires. The Jiva is also Jnana Swarupa. He is a knower and enjoyer, a permitter, and self-manifesting reveals other objects. He is the knower of his body and endowed with desire. So, the similar qualities. But his jnana is actually limited. And knowledge, jnana means knowledge. The Lord is full of all Shaktis and has the highest qualities. The Jiva has very small Shakti, and thus has very small portions of qualities. We're a little attractive, not unlimitedly attractive. We have little knowledge, not unlimitedly full of knowledge. We're a little renounced. Just like a sannyasi, I'm very proud of my renunciation. I'm so renounced. But Krishna is the most renounced because he has nothing to gain from the whole mature world. Whereas I need so many material things. I can't be completely renounced. I need air. I need food. I need light. Going through the whole list of needs, the hierarchy of needs. Krishna doesn't have those. He's everything. He's fulfilled. I need Krishna to be fulfilled. Krishna doesn't need me to be fulfilled. Though there's a difference in Swarupa and nature of the complete Lord and the particle Jiva, in terms of qualities, the Lord and the Jiva are non-different. Since the Lord is full in his Shakti, full in his energies, he is the master of the Swarupa Shakti. That means his own Shakti. Jiva Shakti, that's us, and Maya Shakti. In other words, he's the master of all of the different energies and potencies you can think of. Spiritual energy, material, and Swarup Shakti is the spiritual energy, his own Shakti. Jiva Shakti is the quality that is the definition of who we are. Jiva. So, Jiva, 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 Jiva. So, Jiva, Jiva. Jiva in Bengali means the tongue. Anyway. We're actually controlled by the Jiva Shakti, the tongue Shakti. Krishna's tongue Shakti. And Maya Shakti is material energy. This Shakti is a servant under his control. In other words, all these Shaktis are controlled by Krishna. He is the master of all these energies of Shakti. By his desire, the Shakti acts. This is the form, Swarup, his own form of the Lord. Though the Jiva has very small portions of the Lord's qualities, it is dependent on Shakti. In other words, not by our desire, the Lord's Shakti acts. According to Dashamula, remember we talked about Dashamula, that was there previously. Dashamula means the 10 philosophical points, beginning with the point of how do you know what you know, which is epistemology. Dashamula. The word Maya does not mean only material. It means, in this case, Swarup Shakti. So let me explain what that means. So the word Maya basically means energy. It means, what else? Mercy. Energy, mercy, can mean illusion in certain contexts. But in this particular context, the word Maya can also mean spiritual, like you have Yoga Maya, the spiritual potency, or the Swarup Shakti of the Lord. And then there's the Maha Maya, which is the material potency, and we are all within the Maha Maya. Maha means great Maya, material energy. Miyate iti Maya. Maya is that which measures, which is another definition of Maya. It measures. The Shakti by which Krishna is known is in the spiritual world amongst the Jivas and in the mature world is called Maya. That's Yoga Maya. Thus, Maya means not only the material Shakti, but the Swarup Shakti also. There's two divisions of Maya. One is the material Shakti, that's sometimes it, and the other one is the Swarup or spiritual Shakti. So, in many descriptions of the Lord Shaktis, they're broken up into these two different Shaktis, but actually they're divisions of the same Shakti. Thus, Maya means not only the material Shakti, but the Swarup Shakti. Also, Krishna is the controller of Maya, Swarup Shakti also. In other words, Krishna is the controller of Yoga Maya, Maha Maya, and of course Yoga Maya is the Swarup Shakti. The Jiva, us, is controlled by Maya. Krishna is never controlled by Maya. The Shvetashvatara Upanishad says, important verse, Yasman maye shritate vishwam edatasmims janyo maya saniruddha mayam tu prakatim vidyam mayanam tu mahishwarang tashavayeva bhutaistu vyaptam saravam idam jagat. From Prakriti, that means the material energy, the Lord creates this universe. The Jiva is restricted in the universe by Maya. And here we're talking about Mahamaya, the material energy, not the Yoga Maya. Know that Prakriti, the material energy, full Shakti, which is Maya, and the Supreme Lord, know Prakriti, the full Shakti, material energy, which is Maya, and the Supreme Lord who controls Maya. The whole universe is pervaded by his limbs. In other words, we should know who or what the energy is, and we should also know about what or who the energetic is. Energetic means the person who owns the energy and is the source of the energy. Okay. In this Vedic statement, the word Mayi refers to Krishna, who is the controller of Maya. Tasmin Mayi Srijate. The word Prakriti means the complete Shakti, Prakriti. So Prakriti can mean sometimes the material energy and sometimes the spiritual energy. Yes, Jaiva Prakriti, which is the spiritual energy, and also means female, because in relationship to Krishna it's subservient, or she is subservient. The word Prakriti means the complete Shakti, unless you say Jaiva Prakriti, which means just the spiritual energy. This most praiseworthy quality in nature, having complete Shakti, is Krishna's special quality. The Jiva does not have this. Even when the Jiva is liberated, it cannot have the quality. In other words, it's not complete. It or he or she is not complete. So Brahma Sutra says, Jagad Vyaparavarjam Prakaranan Asannihitatvat. The liberated Jiva cannot create universes because of express statements indicating the Lord not only does this, and these statements do not apply to the Jiva. Brahma Sutra 4.4.70. Brahma Sutra is the Vedanta Sutra, of course. The Jiva cannot create universe. When was the last time I created a universe? Because of statements indicating the Lord is the only one who can create the universes, and these statements do not apply to the Jiva. Okay. So here he's making the differentiation between the Jiva and the Lord. Okay. So with this in mind, I'm trying to make the philosophy as easily digestible as possible without getting too complex. But it's pretty easy. So with this in mind, it's now time to stop sharing and take questions. And I now time to unmute you, or allow you to unmute yourselves, so you can ask questions. So Abhay Chaitanya, you have a question. What's your question?
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Please accept my respectful obeisances.
Haribol.
Haribol. Gurudev, a question I had was, when you're describing the how, with the microphone example, where you cannot, we are actually not seeing it. It's the light photons and all of that is coming to ourselves. Is that, I'm just trying to understand, it's pretty complex to understand. Is that like a bit like the Schrodinger's cat example, where it's not really present, but it is, and
It's
it
either
depends on
dead
the
or
observer,
alive. It's neither dead or alive, or either dead or alive.
or simultaneously.
No, not exactly. What's happening with the material energy is independent of our perception. I mean, at least according to the Vedic understanding. I mean, I was talking about the uncertainty principle. Schrodinger's cat, for example. Whoops, someone sent a message. Anyway, if you're talking about Schrodinger's cat, that doesn't really apply because the Lord is the observer of everything. This is interesting. The Lord is the observer of everything, and so the Lord, he's the omniscient. He's the observer of the cat. So he knows whether it's dead or alive. It doesn't require us to know whether it's dead or alive. He already knows whether it's dead or alive. It's an
Right.
interesting question. So, it has nothing to do with.
Okay.
It has everything to do with our perception, but nothing to do with what on the ground reality. This microphone is there, regardless of my perceptions. It's there because Krishna perceives it, and Krishna wants it to be there.
So, Gurudev, related to that, so the microphone is there. It's not that it is an illusion like what the Mayavadis are saying. It's the whole Jagat is mithya. They're not. It's not like it's not there.
It is here. So what's it? Yeah, Jagat mithya. The material world is not an illusion. What's mithya or illusion is the way we perceive it. I mean, it's an illusion to think that I'm directly looking at the microphone. That's true. Or it's an illusion to think that I'm this body. Or it's an illusion to think that I'm just temporary. There's all sorts of illusions there. This probably gives the example. Someone said, yeah, anyway, that's what Schrodinger's equation, hypothesis. So, it's just it probably gives the example of rope. You can see a rope and it's a snake, but there is something there. The illusion is that we're seeing it as a snake.
Right.
But not that the rope is actually an illusion.
Okay. Thank you, Gurudev. It's an interesting topic. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So yeah, our perception. Another devotee put in the text window. Our perception is irrelevant to reality, whether we perceive it or not.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Krishna also knows, like in the double slit example, that Krishna knows which slit the photon will go through.
Yes.
And Krishna knows whether a cat is alive or dead. Because Krishna's perceiving, so our perception is actually irrelevant to reality. Although we may be an illusion thinking our perception. I remember when I was young, I used to think if a tree falls in the forest and I'm not there to perceive it, no one's there to perceive it, then the tree didn't fall in the forest for all intents and purposes. But the point is that Krishna's there to perceive it, and all the animals too.
That's true, actually, and Krishna confirms it in the Gita that he's the knower of all the fields, isn't it? Like he knows.
He knows all the fields.
Yeah.
And anyway. So.
Okay. Thank you, Gurudev.
Krishna is able to understand the location of an atomic particle and the speed at which it's traveling simultaneously, whereas we can't, according to the scientists. Okay, good point. So,
thank you. Haribol.
So, who else has a question? Raise your hand. Questions, comments? That was a good question. Rishikesh, you have a question.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. I obeisances. Gurudev, maybe I'm asking questions which is out of the context of this class, but I wanted to know anyway.
Uh-oh.
What causes the envy?
What causes the envy? Their desire to experience something separate from Krishna. The desire turning our face away from Krishna, which is the ultimate cause of our false ego, which results in the two phases of the false ego, I and mine. I am the center, I am the enjoyer, and I possess, mine means I can possess something. I have a right. I have a right to enjoy this. That's the I and mine. So we turn our face away from Krishna. False ego is there. False ego is composed of two parts, I and mine. In other words, the false identification with matter or with our position, uh, and the idea that something belongs to us. Whereas nothing belongs to us, and our identification is that we're a servant. Or another point is that we're thinking with a master, Ishwaraham Aham Bhogi Siddham Balavan Sukhi. So that causes, if I think I'm important, then I get envious of someone else because they have something I don't want. I want, sorry, they have something that I want, and I think I deserve it.
Uh-huh.
You understand the word deserve it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
That's one of the barriers in empathic communication, deserve, too. I deserve this because I am important. I. So therefore, not instead of understanding that Krishna is giving everybody his quota, what is that? Ishavashamidam sarvam yitkancha jagatam jagat tenjiktena bunjitha magradha kashasvidanam ishapanashad. That Krishna is the owner control of everything, and everyone is given a particular quota. Your quota may be more or less than mine. That's tough. Tough for you or tough for me? All right?
Thank you, Gurudev. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Good question. Another good question from the gallery here. All right. I think after those good questions, well, the getting's good. Oh, here's another question. So one understands that I don't deserve it, but I want it anyway. But you think that's just intellectual. I don't deserve it. But you're thinking, I do deserve it. But that's subconscious. If you want it anyway, that's also, I'm thinking, I deserve. There's the subconscious motivation and the conscious motivation. That's all. You can think, oh, I don't deserve it. But we don't think or we don't feel based upon our conscious thoughts. We feel based upon our unconscious thoughts to a large extent. Or unconscious conception of ourselves. Sorry. Not just thoughts, but our conception of who we are. Yeah. Thieves think they deserve it. Expectations when not fulfilled make us envious towards others. That's actually a good one. Expectations when not fulfilled make us envious towards others. Because the expectations are that we're supposed to have that. Or I'm controlling things, then I will get that. So, the controller, proprietor, like that. Ishwaraham Aham Bhogi. I'm the enjoyer, controller, the proprietor. Good points. That's actually quite a good point. So let us end here while I'm still in control. As they say in one TV show, I can control the horizontal, I can control the vertical. And I can control when it ends. Of course, Krishna can show me I know. Because sometimes I've tried to end the class and the computer doesn't cooperate 100%. So I have to be careful what I say, thinking that I can control. Okay, we'll see everybody tomorrow. All glorious, just fine grace. Srila Prabhupada.